it's me, Player Negative. Happy May the 4th. Wait, it's not May the 4th anymore? I'm late? Dang it! So, this is my May the 4th video. Now, due to certain circumstances I will not get into, I was not able to make one on the actual May the 4th, so this is more like a makeup video. And honestly, it's just hard to talk about Star Wars nowadays due to the state that it's been in, thanks to a certain someone that, decided to shove her politics where they didn't need to exist. Of course, I'm talking about Kathleen Kennedy, the woman who murdered Star Wars. But despite that, I still want to make something good that any Star Wars fan can appreciate who's been worn out by the crap that was made with the newer trilogy with the stupidity of Rey Palpatine. And that's when it hit me. There was one Star Wars related series that was actually interesting. One series that actually managed to turn the tides of things, and that was Star Wars Visions. For the 3 people in the room who don't know, this is an anthology series with different characters within the Star Wars universe with each a self-contained story. And the one thing I liked about this is that it touched on the decades worth of comics and lore that Kathleen Kennedy declared non-canon when Disney bought Star Wars. And there's a lot of good stories here, but I'm only going to focus on one. And that is the story of tob1, otherwise known as Toby. One of the very few characters in Star Wars who are labeled a Jedi despite being a droid. And today I'm going to explain why tob1 is a better Jedi than Rey Palpatine. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, before I explain the why, I probably have to explain the who, because for those of you who probably don't have Disney+, even though Disney expects anyone to watch their new movies to already have it, let me just explain how this clanker qualifies as a Jedi to begin with. And with that being said, let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, consider liking or subscribing or hitting the bell and turning on all notifications. It really helps my channel, and I guarantee you won't regret it. With that being said, let's get into the story. So the story begins with this man named Professor Hidaka, whose main goal is to try to restore proper atmosphere to his planet by trying to figure out a way to create artificial clouds or a breathable, livable atmosphere due to the lack of plant life on his planet. Despite the fact that he's disabled, he's actually still a very skilled genius. And to assist him in areas he could not due to his lack of hands, he created tob1, which, yeah, he's literally a nod to Astro Boy if his physiology or his shape language wasn't obvious. And he basically acts like an apprentice or a young child to him, as he prefers to him as his son or his child. And he is a very charismatic person. And he does his best to help his master with his research on trying to restore life back to this barren planet, but also has other ambitions. One of them being the fact he wants to become a Jedi, even though he doesn't fully understand what that entails. His master, who is secretly actually a Jedi, sees his aspirations and decides to actually test him so he understands the true understanding of what it means to be a Jedi, and causes him to go on a hunt to find a kyber crystal to build a lightsaber. So he heads out to look for a kyber crystal, but seems to have no luck going for it. He searches the whole dang planet, but somehow, despite it, he cannot find the kyber crystal. And eventually, he nearly gives up. His master, seeing this struggle, decides to give him advice by telling him to use the Force. Now, the concept of becoming a Jedi as a droid isn't really something new, and a lot of people consider it a stupid idea that doesn't really make sense since they can't technically use the Force, which is true to some degree, but also it's actually handled a lot differently in the older forms of material. You see, various external media before Disney and Star Wars made that deal, the Force being handled by different beings actually had a lot more nuance and depth. Beings like clones or droids were able to use the Force in a similar sense, but they also had to learn how to use it in various different ways without having the full strength that a Jedi would traditionally have. And I think that serves as both an interesting homage to the original Star Wars series, as well as a good character flaw for tob1. Because rather than his connection to the Force just being a scripted thing like Rey Palpatine, where they're just able to do anything just because the story needs them to, it actually becomes a real flaw and a real obstacle that when you finally see him overcome, it's actually a beautiful payoff and makes the character's triumph all the more sweeter, because he's literally handicapped at the start of the story from becoming what he wants to be. Anyways, as he's sitting on the verge of giving up, he remembers his master specifically told him not to go to the basement. But he thinks, I've searched this entire planet, and that is the only place I have not been. If I go down there, I might find the Kyber crystal. As he goes down to the basement and finds a ship, his master gets furious at him for specifically because he told him not to go down into the basement. But then he hears the sound of a ship outside, and he can sense that it's a Sith Lord. And he heads out to fight him on his own, locking tob1 behind a wall in the basement so he won't be discovered. And sadly, due to the fact that he's literally a Jedi with no hands, he unfortunately loses the fight and dies. Rest in peace, Master Hitaki. After this grueling, devastating loss, tob1 decides to take it upon himself to continue his master's research. He spends weeks and days on end studying his old notes and trying to figure out a way to finish his work, until eventually he gets it. And that's when he finds a deeper connection to the Force, and eventually builds his lightsaber. And as an homage to his master, he rebuilds it from his master's old lightsaber hilt. Everything seems well until disaster strikes. The Sith Lord, the very same Sith Lord that killed his master, comes for him. However, Toby tries to fight back, but it's not enough. Due to the fact that he's outclassed in the terms of the Force and skill, he nearly loses, if it isn't for his master's help guiding him. He's knighted a true Jedi in the midst of this coma-like state, and wakes up ready to fight back. He manages to come in swinging a little bit, but he also uses the environment to his advantage, which honestly is a much more believable way of winning this fight. Because to be honest, yeah, he's outskilled and he gets his arm cut off pretty dang easily, because he really doesn't have that much training. But he manages to get a clean shot at him and all the other robots stunning him down, that CO3 is able to knock him down using this super adapter form, and eventually clutches it. He makes it, but barely. And from then on, he proclaims to continue his master's work across different planets that would need his help. Now let's compare that to Rey Skywalker. Let me explain. Alright, let's put yourself in Kylo Ren's perspective. You have trained in the Force for over 20 years. You are a skilled, experienced Sith Lord. You have taken out entire armies. And all of a sudden, you get news about some random scavenger holding your grandfather's lightsaber. Rightfully, you're pissed. And in a standoff against them, you try using the Force to grab your lightsaber back from this Raffic scavenger. Yet despite them having no training whatsoever, they manage to grab it. Like, you respectfully are either baffled or just angry because this is stupid and should not work. You have been training for 20 years and somehow this absolute newbie just manages to steal your lightsaber. It makes no gosh darn sense. She should have lost right then and there. And to make things more stupider, when the two of you do start fighting, at first, you're pretty much outclassing them due to the fact that you have way more experience and you're very much more skilled at this. Due to the fact that A, you've been training for 20 years, and 2, you have a cross-guard lightsaber. You could just have them pinned up against the blade and stab them through the chest with this one sparks on the side. But no, for some reason, you're just stupidly just swinging on the sides of the mountains. You are barely getting any hits in. Yet, despite that, you're still doing well so far, nothing too wrong, but then this is where things get extremely stupid. Like, look at this fight right now. She is literally just blocking and doing nothing else. She's not even trying to fight you. But the stupid thing is, neither are you. You literally have every chance to kill her because of that lightsaber you're wielding with those two crossguard sides, which, if I'm being honest, you could have won the fight just by stabbing her in the chest with it. But for some stupid reason, you don't. You literally just stand there, and for some unknown reason, she just shuts her eyes and then, quote-unquote, uses the Force, and then just all of a sudden, she can fight you now. Which makes no sense. She immediately just pushes you over, dodges to the side, blocks every hit you throw effortlessly, and then just manages to knock you in the foot and stop you dead in your tracks. Compare that to how tob1 fights, where, yeah, he's not that skilled, but uses the environment against his opponent having the advantage. And later on, he's stunned, leaving him open for a clean attack that was won by thinking smarter, not harder. This is a much more believable fight due to the fact he had home advantage. This, on the other hand, is just bad writing. All of a sudden, Rey just closes her eyes and she goes from nearly on the edge, hanging by a thread, to absolutely beating the crap out of him. This is so unbelievable and just poorly written within the context of how Star Wars works and the context of both the world building and understanding of what a Jedi truly is. And don't get me started on that one scene from The Force Awakens where she pulls a random circuit board out of the Millennium Falcon and all of a sudden that magically fixes everything. Well, that's all I have for you today. I'm Player Negative. Hope you enjoy the video and check out any of the other ones I've made. And most importantly, don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on all notifications. Trust me, I'm desperate for it because I've barely been able to break out 100 subscribers. And I'll see you later.